Hello, I'm Karen Long, President and founder of Streamline Government Contracts. Streamline helps small to mid-sized government contractors who seek experienced, effective support with contract management that will reduce your risks, increase your profits, and enhance your reputation. We do this by negotiating teaming agreements, subcontracts, preparing estimates at completion when necessary, and speaking to contracting officers in their own language. We are the proud organizers of Government Contractor Chat. Thanks for joining us today. And I'm going to hand it over to Lindsay.
Thank you, Karen. Hello, everyone. I am Lindsay Riegelsberger, the Director of Operations and Business Development for Streamline Government Contracts. I'm going to introduce our guest speaker now. Mike Kalnasy has enjoyed a 19-year accounting career. He spent the early part of his career in the nonprofit sector and has spent the last 16 years working exclusively in government contracting. He has worked for CAVU Advisors for the last 10 years, with the most recent 3 years on the executive leadership team, and was recently promoted to the Chief Sales Officer role. CAVU Advisors provides accounting, outsourcing, and financial consulting to small to mid-sized government contractors and enjoys its reputation as a strategic partner for its clients. Let's welcome Mike Kalnasy.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. I appreciate it. And thank you all for having me today on the webinar. I'm really excited to speak with everybody today. So, just a little bit of background about CAVU. So we were founded in 2006 by former business owners, primarily our CEO, Susan Bell. And we have a unique understanding of growing, building value, and selling a GovCon. When we were founded, a lot of companies, business owners were coming to Susan saying, I saw that you sold a company, you built value here. How did you do that? How did you grow a company and sell it? How did you pass a DCA audit, set up an accounting system, run this? How did you do that? And that was really the inception of CAVU back in 2006. And really, that was the foundation of how we were built. And Susan's vision led us to where we are today. So we are run today by Susan, our CEO, and our president, Nicole Trimble. And I work with them on the executive leadership team. And our goal is really to provide a value add and strategic partner for our clients. We want to give business owners a perspective of kind of walk in their shoes because we were founded by business owners that have bought and sold companies, have grown companies, have been in this GovCon industry, and know the unique challenges. So we're not just kind of putting together an accounting shop as like maybe a former auditor or somebody who's working in a big four. We're people that have been where you've been, and we share that unique vision, and we want to help guide our clients with that. So what do? We do full and partial accounting outsourcing for our clients, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means as we get later into the presentation. Fractional CFO support, advisory support, especially DCA compliance, that scary word that we all hear in the GovCon industry, and compliance support, complying with the FAR and knowing what you can do and what you can't do as a government contractor. This is a very, very, very unique industry, and we have to be mindful of what we can do as government contractors, because as a government contractor, you hold that contract, but you are a custodian of those dollars and providing the services to the government. As a custodian of those dollars and those taxpayer dollars, you have to deliver those goods, but then also be stewards of that money. So that's why we have all the compliance, is to kind of put guardrails around what we can do as government contractors. So. And we also do a lot on the technology side as well. We do accounting and ERP system license sales. We do implementation work and optimization support. This is primarily with Uninet and Deltek. And we'll talk about that later in the presentation as well. As you grow as a GovCon, most companies obviously outgrow a QuickBooks solution, which we'll talk about. And investing in an ERP system is something that we help our clients do, through their life cycle as well. So just that's a little bit of background and history on our firm and what we're here to do. But we're really the kind of operational accounting support that works with the client as if we're your own internal accounting team, leading you through the challenges of growing your business so that you can focus on building your company so that one day maybe potentially you can realize that dream of building enough value so that you can potentially sell it. So today we're gonna talk about investing in your accounting infrastructure and some of the key things to think about as a government contractor and especially in the small business sector, trying to approach that mid-market and things that you need to be mindful of. What's important as you grow, especially when it comes to things such as your resources and what expertise comes with those resources that are guiding you. The systems and software that make up your accounting department. I talk with business owners frequently, and there is a misconception that software can solve a lot of pain points. While it can, you have to have the people with the knowledge and the wherewithal to run that software or those systems as well. So that's a big thing that you have to understand as well. Reporting capabilities are big. You would be shocked at some of the businesses that we've encountered just as they've kind of scaled and grown, and then also just companies I talk to in passing that, reporting is really a blind spot for them. And it is hard to make effective decisions to be able to scale your business if you don't have visibility into your reporting. So investing in your accounting and just this whole concept that we're going to talk about today so that you can get good reporting capabilities and leverage that is really is crucial. And then finally, the output of this building for your future. What does that look like? What are we going to get out of this if we make these investments? And what would be on the horizon? What should we be thinking about as we put these investments into our accounting infrastructure? So first, we're going to talk about just generally the resources and expertise that goes into your accounting and what that looks like. So first, let's talk about the difference between bookkeeping and government contract accounting. I talk with business owners and frequently I hear the word bookkeeping and I kind of cringe. I know it's an easy buzzword to use because it really takes the place of what is transactional accounting, putting the transactions into the accounting system. But when we think about bookkeeping, bookkeeping is really kind of a simplified manner of, getting transactions into an accounting system. But government contract accountants or the accounting adds a layer of compliance, understanding of bucketing expenses into the appropriate indirect pools, making sure that all your balance sheet accounts are reconciled. you know, we need to understand that there is also a layer of sophistication that goes on to doing accounting work as a government contractor that you graduate to. So while bookkeeping can kind of get you to a certain point, understand that with the compliance and the requirements as a government contractor, you need to start thinking about things in a different lens. So you can certainly potentially use and have bookkeeping services. But as you grow, especially if you get CPFF contracts, you have to start, doing reporting to your customer and you reporting for DCAA, things of that nature. You really have to start thinking about aligning with government contract accountants and doing proper accounting. And it's not to say that bookkeeping isn't proper accounting, but there is certainly a level of sophistication that comes with doing good compliant accounting with the FAR, with the DFARs, that is just beyond basic bookkeeping. So then that goes into the question of, okay, if I'm going to invest in this, what resources do I need at what point in my life cycle as a company? So we just started to scratch the surface on that. You know, as a government contractor, you have to take a step back and say, okay, what's my exposure here? What's my risk? And where am I at in the life cycle? You may have primarily subcontract work. It may be primarily fixed price or time and materials work. You don't run the risk of a DCA audit right now, and you may have enough wherewithal or somebody set up your system in QuickBooks with you where you know generally you can bucket things into your indirect pools and get transactions in, and you don't have enough activity throughout the year that you need to worry about, hiring a sophisticated level of accounting per se on a full-time basis so you can work with the bookkeeper and then maybe bring somebody in routinely at the end of the year to make sure that everything's, kind of tidied up or something of that nature. But really, when I look at this and I think about investing in your infrastructure, what are the things that really kind of stand out to me, the milestones that somebody needs to think about? They're growing their company and they need to start looking at this and kind of getting away from it. Just doing basic bookkeeping is, I won my first prime contract. I'm potentially moving to CPFF work, whether that's under a subcontract or a prime contract. I have the potential for a DCAA audit, and I've grown past maybe 10 resources in my company. Believe it or not, as a business owner, you may not realize it, but there are a lot of accounting transactions that have to happen. You should be doing like accrual-based accounting, especially for DCAA purposes in your books. And there's a lot that goes into preparing monthly financial statements and then closing your financial statements at the end of the year, and especially to get visibility and reporting, which we'll talk about. And you need to make sure that you're able to do that. So again, when you win your first prime contract, if you have CPFF work, as you start to get above 10 resources, that's when you need to start thinking about, okay, I'm beyond the point where I can be doing this myself or using a bookkeeper, and I probably need to call somebody that has experience in government contract accounting and really start to invest in the infrastructure that I'm using. So then we talk about internal hires versus outsourcing and what are the benefits, what are the pros, what are the cons there? So you can absolutely make internal hires and you can make outsourcing. Obviously we do outsourcing and we know a lot of companies also make internal hires. There's pros and cons to both. Outsourcing makes sense for a lot of companies, especially when you're under about 200 employees. It can be more cost effective. And when I say more cost effective, when you look at the what making an internal hire as an accountant, you can't just think about their salary. You also need to think about the fringe and the other indirect cost impacts that you're going to be having. Okay, I'm going to have IT costs. I'm going to have to, have licenses for them, like on Microsoft, things of that nature, to just bring them into my organization and have them working here. I'm going to have to train them to use my system. All these things. And then also, not even just that, then keeping that resource happy and employed and making sure that they're going to be with you for a while and avoiding any pitfalls with turnover. When you work with somebody who's doing outsourcing or a firm, they take on that responsibility, right? They're the ones that are then assigning a resource, making sure that they have to keep those resource levels up to serve your account, and then also making sure that the equipment and all of those things are taken care of. So it takes a lot of that off of your plate, and it's generally more cost effective, up until a certain point in your life cycle. We work with clients on that all the time. And once they get to a certain size, we have conversations with them about, does it make sense to start to insource things if they are going to reach a certain size? And if they are, then we can work with them. But they might be heading towards an M&A transaction where it makes sense for them to keep the outsourced model because they're going to sell the company anyway. But either way, that's one thing to think about. The other thing to think about too is right now, and is right, you know, it's been in the news a lot, is the accounting market and people going into college and coming out of college for accounting right now. It's really drying up. The accounting resources that are out and available in the market, it's diminishing. So everybody is competing for less and less talent in this area. So the concept of outsourcing, especially since 2020, has become far more attractive to companies because, again, it puts that, I would say, responsibility on a firm to maintain that as a service provider to a company versus a company having to worry about keeping an internal resource. And again, generally, up until probably a certain size, when you start to hit mid-market, it can be more cost effective. So we started to also talk about this and scratch the surface on it, but when you're investing in your accounting infrastructure, you're also investing in your people, and you need to make the investment in people who are bringing a knowledge of government contract accounting, the FAR, DFARS, and DCA compliance. I know Lindsay, spoke briefly about my background. Um, I grew up in GovCon accounting. I spent a lot of my early career working in the trenches with growing and scaling government contractors, going through DCAA audits, working directly with government customers. And that is like something we have built our firm on, is bringing together people who have strategic GovCon experience, especially in the small to mid market, that our clients can leverage that knowledge and expertise to be able to guide them through the growth trajectory of their own companies. And again, when you are growing your company and you're investing in these resources or investing in a service partner, finding ones that bring that to the table is invaluable. So as you kind of embark on this, don't just look at it as dollars and cents. Look at this as the knowledge you're bringing to the table, because that's a powerful thing, especially when you have a DCAA auditor coming knocking at the door. I can't tell you how many times we've had clients come back to us after they passed their first DCAA audit or one that was unexpected and say, "I'm so glad you were there to get us through this because I don't know how we would have done it." And it's powerful. It really is. So now we're going to talk about systems and software and making that investment. And I think that's generally an interesting concept to most companies. And I hear it a lot is, okay, so why is this critical to my organization? I could probably run QuickBooks forever. Well, the first thing is your software is going to give you key reporting outputs for you to be able to make effective decisions. It also is going to provide things that are going to be needed for you to pass those DCAA audits that we just talked about. Now, DCAA's accounting system reviews are a measure of not just your software, but also the policies and procedures. Those all make up your accounting system. So it's not just the software that's going to get you through an audit, but understand that this is a critical piece of the whole infrastructure that you're building here, and you can't neglect this part. So you need to think about this, how you're setting it up, and then when is it an appropriate time to scale. And again, those key components and those things I talked about earlier about when you might pivot from bookkeeping to working with government contract, accountants or a firm that specializes in it, those are generally good marks or measures to also look at upgrading your ERP system as well. So when should I consider looking for that new system for your company? Uh, if you're on QuickBooks, when you start to win your first prime contract, there's going to be reporting requirements you're going to have to get. QuickBooks is a great system when you're running, general subcontract work, maybe it's fixed price or T&M, but the minute you get into CPFF work, or you have more strenuous reporting requirements under a prime contract, and you have the need to get data on your resources or get reporting out to your PMs or your government customer, a ERP system that is specific to government contractors is going to come in handy, and the investment is going to prove its worth. So this is something where I do see, companies that jump head in, they make the investment, and then they are all the better for it down the road. And you're generally better to make that investment before you hit that growth spurt because you can get your system in place, get it stable, and get it running so that when you add resources, it's just as simple as adding those people into the system versus waiting for an audit to come, waiting for after a giant contract onboards, and then you've got to train up, you know, 200 people and then get a bunch of historical data in. So when does it make sense? Like we were just talking about. Generally, thinking about the things that are ahead. Do I have a big contract award on the horizon? Am I at 85 people today, but I'm going to be at 150 in 6 months? Thinking about that is important. Implementation costs for these systems generally goes up when there's more historical data and when there's a larger head count. So think about those things and think about that, as you kind of make these investments. And a lot of times we have those conversations with clients. We've had clients that have put these ERPs in place from inception and have saved probably tens of thousands of dollars just by putting them in to begin with versus waiting 5, 6 years down the road just to save some money on the front end. And it's actually saved them significantly, down the road. And again, when does it make sense? Think about that. Did I win my first prime contract? Am I doing CPFF work? Do I need to get ready for a DCAA audit? All of these things are good indicators of when it's going to make sense. Also, your reporting requirements. Do I need to report on my resources or on this contract? And am I struggling to get that data out of my QuickBooks system? Those are generally good indicators that I'm probably ready to upgrade my ERP system. So now let's talk about reporting capabilities. So we talked about investing in our ERP system. We talked about investing in our people. So we make these investments, but what do they get us? These investments are generally bringing with it an investment that's going to give us better reporting capabilities as an owner, as an organization. These are bringing about financial reporting for stakeholders and external requests that are going to be important for us as we grow. So, as a business owner, we need to think about who are they and what are those reporting requests going to be and where are they going to come from. So, banks, as you grow your company, a bank and a banker, especially as you go to them, to look for a line of credit, for a banking relationship, they're going to want to know who's doing your accounting, where are you getting your report, how are you doing your reporting, what system are you using, and they want to get a sense of comfort out of that. So you don't want to scramble through that process. You want to be prepared for it. So having the reporting capabilities and outputs ready and making these investments on the front end is going to be crucial for that conversation, especially with your bankers, as you're growing your company. The second, and we've been talking about this the whole time now, is DCAA. Having the capability to get your reporting outputs out of a system quickly and efficiently is very critical. I remember, 12, 15 years ago, DCA had a large backlog of audits. You used to be able to kind of kick the can down the road if you needed to kind of dig things up and get ready for an audit with them. Those days are over. If an audit request is going in from a contracting officer, they're generally sending you an email and knocking at your door the next week. And they're not waiting on you to send requests. They want the information there. They want the reporting readily available. Okay. So having these requests and these outputs ready is critical. Small business administration. For those of you that are a small business and you have these unique requirements, maybe you've got to do your annual reporting to SBA and it's got to come out of your accounting system. Making sure that you can report on that is going to be critical. They may ask for you to be able to report on 8A versus non-8A revenue. Well, you can actually set up an ERP system like Uninet or Deltek to be able to code that revenue so you can easily generate that report when you need to for SBA. So by investing in that infrastructure on the front end, those reporting outputs can become easier when that time comes. Government solicitations. I can't tell you how many times I have clients come and say, "Hey, the government needs me to show that I've got this financial capability. I need to fill this form out, or I need to show them these financials here." The government seeing that you've got a good system in place, that you've got your ducks in a row, and being able to demonstrate that is critical. So again, showing them the capability that you have an ERP in place and that you've got good reporting outputs is certainly not going to hurt. The other component to this is project reporting. Business owners being able to make informed decisions based on project reports is critical. Um, I don't know how many, small business owners we have on the call today that are using QuickBooks, but if you don't know, you should know. QuickBooks out of the box, you're generally only able to view your project reporting through your gross margin. You have to use an add-on external software or export that reporting to be able to apply indirects and really see your true project reporting through net margin with your indirects. So using an ERP system that's dedicated for GovCons, you can get project reporting. It's tailor-made for a GovCon that applies your indirect rates and gives you that visibility into how your projects are truly doing with your indirect rates applied. And that is vital for a business owner, for a PM to make decisions on their projects and then be able to guide them on business. For them to be able to see projects and how they're operating and being able to make decisions month over month. Maybe they're overburning on a project, maybe a resource is overburning, or they've got, they're too heavy, top heavy on one project and being able to pivot. But that's a lot harder to see in a QuickBooks system than a ERP that's dedicated for a GovCon. So being able to make those informed decisions is why it's so critical to invest in an ERP. And this is helping us, really measure our business performance as business owners. As we start to grow, this is showing a level of sophistication, especially as we start to think about what are our long-term goals and strategies, and as we start to get more M&A focused and, potentially to talk to somebody who may be looking to acquire us. Having these things in place and showing that you're measuring these things, it shows a buyer that you are looking at these things, you're measuring them, you're more sophisticated, and it's a good thing to have in place. Another thing, just to be thinking about in terms of reporting capabilities, and we talk about this, is, a measurement of EBITDA, which is your earning before income taxes, depreciation, and amortization. We won't dive into a full M&A conversation here today, but just know that that's another thing that as you look at reporting capabilities and just investing in your accounting infrastructure in general, working with a government contract accountant and somebody who understands building value, this is a metric that they can report to you on and can show you. If you talk to anybody in investment banking, they generally talk about, value of deals being a function of a multiple of EBITDA. So knowing this number for yourself is going to be critical, and being able to measure that as you go along in your life cycle. And then also waterfall reporting. as you get into the future, having a waterfall report so that if you do decide to go to the table and sell your business and being able to do that, that's a very, very, very strenuous report to pull together in Excel, but there are tools out there that can automate this working with a GovCon ERP system. And again, working with somebody who understands that and can pull that together for you is going to be critical, especially if you want to cross that bridge and sell your business one day. So, we're talking about building for the future now. We've talked about investing in people, investing in systems, investing so that we get these reporting outputs. So, what does that look like? How can I scale my financial capabilities and systems? So, think about this. We've talked about graduating from just using bookkeeping to working with general GovCon accountants that understand the market, and then looking at an ERP system. And that's really going to help you graduate your business to the next level so that you have the insight to be able to make informed decisions later. Data is a powerful, powerful tool. And if we use that, it can guide us with decisions that we're going to make. The other thing is the FP&A function, or financial planning and analysis function. So one thing that we generally do, and I'll combine this with the next bullet, is we use software with the accounting systems that we work with to do forecasting for our clients. And if you're a small GovCon, this may be a new term to you. If you're kind of in that mid-size, you probably already know it. But the FP&A function of a GovCon and looking ahead to the horizon to do planning, to do scenario planning, and look at the impact of the business of various scenarios that could happen. Those are things that you can invest in, working with a company, like CAVU, to look at those scenarios and how you can grow your business and what impact certain pieces of business in your pipeline can have on your outlook, on your wrap rate. But think about those things as you grow. You may only be a $3 million company now, so your FP&A needs might not be significant. But once you get over $10 million, you will have a need to start doing scenario planning and looking at those opportunities that are hitting your pipeline and what does it look like? What are the possibilities for my outlook? And so investing in that FP&A function is also going to be critical. Fractional CFO support. So we didn't really touch on this earlier, but this is something we provide our clients either as just a standalone retainer or through our accounting services, full accounting services package. But having a fractional CFO, especially for companies that are generally under 50, maybe under 30 million, is a great way to get advisory support in just that amount that you need as you scale and grow without having to pay a full-time CFO being inside of your building. And it's a great way. It's a very cost-effective solution, and it's somebody that can help you with forecasting, advisory support, and just giving you that expertise that you need to make decisions so that you can scale and grow your business and focus on what the most important things are. And then project control support. As we talked about those more sophisticated ERP systems, you may need somebody who can run kind of the planning modules within them, planning out resources, getting, reporting to your PMs and running cost reporting and doing the analysis on that. Investing in that function within your company as it grows, especially as we're talking about companies that are getting over, maybe 20, $30 million, or building out projects, especially T&M, CPFF projects, that function is going to become more critical. So investing in that may be an important thing. You can work with a company potentially like CAVU to outsource that or also bring that function in-house with like a project control specialist or manager or such. But just know that that's another area, just like FP&A, that you will want to look at investing in. And all of this, it's really about finding the expertise to support your financial operations and then scaling with them. Again, whether it's outsourcing or building out a strong internal team, you know, find the people that have the expertise and scale with them. People that have done it, people that understand the market, and people that can help you grow your company. You want to ensure that your capabilities around your financial system are a well-oiled machine so that you are prepared for your growth and a potential exit. Um, we work with M&A advisors all the time, and I think any of them will tell you the owner that comes to them that generally says, "I'm tired, I'm done, I just need to get out," and goes to sell their business is usually not in a position to make as much on a sale as the one that thoughtfully builds value in their company and is strategically preparing for that exit all along the way. So again, this is a critical area. We this whole time we've talked about why it's important to be investing in these things and people and systems and your process around your financial operations. It's really realizing this end goal of potentially selling your company. Or maybe you're going to acquire more companies and go to the middle market or to the larger side of things. And if that's the case, you have to make sure that this machine is ready for that. So again, making sure that it's ready. So just some closing thoughts that I had on our discussion today. Um, the owners that I talk to who are either running some of their accounting operations or have a hand in running their financial system can't focus on growing their business. When we think about this, if even I've talked to companies that are, $10 million dollars and the owner's still doing some of their QuickBooks accounting. And you may laugh, but it happens. If that owner were to outsource even to to an outsourcing firm for, let's just say, $80,000 a year, just hypothetically throwing a number out there, and then that owner took that time and invested it in their business development operations to go win contracts, I think they would pay for that, right? I mean, if you step back and think about it, it's a worthwhile investment. So owners really have to get into the mindset of growing their business and get out of the business of kind of being in the weeds of operating the financial system. Either build out your team or work with a team, an outsourced team that understands it and can guide you and just handle that for you so that you can focus on growing your business. Because as a business owner, your value is there, is working to grow your business, not doing your accounting. We've talked about it this whole time. Again, there are significant complexities in the GovCon space, and aligning with people who really understand the industry is critical. It's going to be a combination. If you work with somebody like CAVU, we partner very well with the CPA firms that are doing usually the tax and audit work for our clients. And we try to make sure that we take a team approach for our clients so that, they're taken care of, that their needs are met, and that we look at all the scenarios on the table and look at the outlook for those companies, but also bring our expertise and all of our knowledge to the table to serve them as best that we can. But making sure that, again, you are working with people who really understand the industry is critical. I can't tell you how many times I do get calls from companies that say, well, I'm working with this, a bookkeeping shop or this bookkeeper or somebody, but they don't really know GovCon or they don't know. As a government contractor, you have to think about that and making those investments so that you are in compliance, and then B, set up for success so that you can grow your organization. And like we've been talking about, making these investments is really going to lead to a smoother trajectory later, especially as we all think about where that's headed. I mean, why did you get into business? Why did you decide to start your business? Most of the business owners we speak to, they realize the dream, right? I'm gonna build this government contracting company up, and then maybe one day, a PE group or a strategic will come and they'll want to purchase it because I built something here. I built value. So making the investments is actually going to make that more attractive to a buyer, right? And it's also going to make it easier for you to build that value and to build your company. So again, make that easier on yourself and invest in your critical infrastructure so that you can grow your company as well. And with that said, I will open it up for some Q&A.
Um, Thank you, Mike. Great presentation. Really appreciate that. So I have a few questions, but also wanted to, if our audience has questions, feel free to either put it in chat and I will keep an eye on the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and, come on camera and ask Mike your question. So either way works. Um, but, and I know you touched on this, Mike, and I know you touched on this, but when should a company like decide to outsource accounting for their company?
Um, Again, I think outsourcing can actually be very economical for a company. And I honestly tell people if you're going to hire a junior accountant to do your accounting, and let's say you've got 10 employees, or you got 5 to 10 employees, but you're going to hire a junior accountant or bookkeeper internally,
Yeah.
you should be talking to an outsourcing firm as well, because you can get a range of resources, and at least with somebody like us, get some of that fractional CFO time where you're going to get resources that are going to be able to give you that expertise like we've been talking about. Whereas just hiring a single bookkeeper or junior accountant, you're kind of limited to that one person that you're going to be working with. So,
And you touched on waterfall reporting. I'm not sure if everyone in the audience knows what waterfall reporting is. Can you talk to
yeah.
that a little bit?
Yeah, so waterfall reporting, people kind of look at it like as an extension of backlog reporting. So that takes all of your current contracts and pipeline opportunities and basically does a spread or of the revenue and direct costs and then gross margin, and shows it as like a monthly spread, and kind of shows, they call it waterfall because it shows kind of the drop off, right? Of how each of those projects performs from a month over month revenue, their direct costs, and then what their gross margin is. So when you get to the table for like an M&A transaction, the buyers are very interested in that because it's showing what your current contracts are doing and then what any opportunities you have in the pipeline are going to be doing, because that's what they're buying. So,
Thank you. Um, and when do you think companies should start thinking about upgrading their accounting system from QuickBooks? What are some I don't know, key triggers or key items that you would say that a company might need a more robust accounting system?
Um, I would say again, when you win your first prime contract, maybe you get up over 10 employees. If your reporting requirements have gotten strenuous, those are generally it. Where I see people get frustrated is they'll get kind of they've been a sub for 5 or 6 years, and then all of a sudden have a huge swing of growth, and they've been on QuickBooks for a while, but QuickBooks, it's not set up in a way that the data, generally flows really nicely into one of these ERPs, because the ERPs are are set up for government contractors. QuickBooks is kind of a one size fits all for any small business. So what tends to happen is, implementations get more costly because you're kind of working to get data into a system. There's historical data components to it. So I generally tell people, if you're looking at it, you know, look at it as if you have your first prime contract win. If you have, 10 or more employees, it's generally something to think about because it could the reporting and the investment it's gonna pay for itself.
Um, and what are some pitfalls that companies should consider as they grow from an accounting perspective?
So I mean, we've been talking about like the ERPs, right? I mean, that's one thing. Also, I think is sometimes in what I've been seeing more recently in the market is we've kind of gotten back away from COVID and people there was a big push for kind of outsourcing and people have also started to utilize kind of internal staff with it that are non-accountants to do some of the
Hmm.
accounting functions, which is fine to an extent. But I would also say make sure that you're working with somebody who understands GovCon
Yeah,
accounting to ensure that you're being
yeah,
compliant, you're keeping up to date on things because there's a lot more of that in the market than you would think. And it could come back to bite you a little bit just because again, if
yeah.
you're kind of putting non-accountant resources into accounting roles or doing accountant things, it could certainly be a challenge. So that's one thing I would say. The other thing is, in terms of pitfalls, is again just being ready, to grow your company for that eventual goal, whatever that is. When we talk to business owners, and it's, sometimes they don't have an idea of where they want to head, what they want to do, but I think the sooner you can kind of identify what your roadmap is, the easier it is to align these other things and what to invest in. And I kind of see that as a pitfall too. If you don't know where you want to be in five,
Mhm,
10 years, it's harder to sometimes make decisions along the way because you don't have that
mhm,
big goal identified. So,
mhm. Well, thank you. That was really helpful.
yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions? Again, feel free to either put them on chat or come online and unmute yourself. So, Mike, that was a great presentation, and just for our audience, we've known each other professionally for many, many years, and CAVU has a great reputation, and strongly recommend you guys. I've ran into companies in the industry and who have worked with CAVU, and they've had a lot of positive things to say as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Let's take a look at what's coming up next. Our Government Contractor Chat complimentary Zoom webinar series will be the third Wednesday of each month, excluding holidays, from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Wednesday, October 16th, we will have Ben Madden, Principal at HR Action, presenting talent lifecycle and where we see breaks. Wednesday, November 20th, we will have Eileen Kent, Federal Sales Guide and President of Custom Keynotes, presenting To Bid or Not to Bid. That is the $64,000 question. Wednesday, January 15th, we will have Diane Menzer, Business Operations and COO Advisor at Diane Integrates, presenting Want Top Pass Performance Scores. Start today. To register for these webinars, you can scan the QR code on the screen now. Thank you for your time today. We'll see you in October.